Organization meeting tonight, 15 minutes sooner than our usual. We have to do a verbal roll call for our members present, and all 7 members are present. For this Capital Facilities Corporation meeting, we have an election of officers for 2025, and will be done by a verbal roll call. So amongst board members, we have to pick a president, a vice president, and a secretary, and then a CFO, which we have April for.
And Dr. Ball and members of the board, the Capital Facilities Board or Corporation, historically the existing school board officers often play that exact same role. Not that it is required, but that is certainly something you could do as well if you want to just maintain that consistency. But I will let you make that decision as a Capital Facilities Corporation.
You will.
I will. I will.
Thank you. We do need a nomination for president.
I nominate Dr. Paul.
Second.
And we have a board. Is it verbal? It's verbal, sorry. We'll start with Mr. Porter.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
And it's 7-0.
Nomination for VP for Sharon Alexander.
I'll second. Here's full.
Board, Ms. Lindeman?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Thank you. 7-0. We have Vice President nominated Sherry Alexander for Secretary. Do we have a nomination?
Clerk of the board. Nominate Sue.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
I second Ms. McFarland. Board, Mr. Porter?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
I have a question.
Yes.
I mean, what if someone doesn't want that position?
So we actually, I just have to interject here, I'm sorry, we are voting, so we can ask the question after. So if you can abstain if you didn't understand.
I guess as long as she's good with that,
Okay, thank you. Now we'll answer the question you have, Ms. Lindeman. I think like Neil was saying, historically, people who are already on the officer's position do carry over as a Capital Facilities Corporation officers as well. But if someone doesn't want to, then at the time of nomination, you can vote no,
You can withdraw your name.
withdraw your name.
okay.
Most people don't have a problem with it, but they do. That's the time to do it. Is that okay? Okay, thank you. So we have 7-0 for clerk, our secretary. Our CFO, do we have a nomination? Well, I nominate April Juarez. Like we have to choose. For board, Ms. Lindeman?
Aye. Aye.
All right, go ahead, that's okay. Aye.
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 Okay, thank you. 7-0 for April Juarez to be our CFO. There is the minutes of our Capital Facilities Corporation meeting from January 16, 2024. Do we have any public comments on it? Seeing none, do we have any board comments? Seeing
I move we
none.
approve.
Thank
Second.
you, thank you. Board, Ms. Lindeman?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Thank you. And the board approves the meeting minutes at 7-0.
Who was the second? I'm sorry, was that Joe?
Porter.
It was me.
Porter, thank you.
Yes, thank you. And we adjourn this Capital Facilities Corporation meeting at 5:49.
You going? Go home?
Go.
Go home and come
You just
back.
have to be back in 11 minutes.
Yes, thank you.
Are we still live or we?
Whenever it's on my
Here, are you ready?
The baseball team, they keep jumping the fence.
I'm going to call this meeting to order. It's 6 p.m. Thank you, Mr. Lambert. Oh, Mr. Dawson.
Way nicer than the.
You look the same from behind.
You look a lot alike.
We have all 7 board members present. Do we have any public comments on closed session items? I guess Neil's voice is louder than the gas. Thank you. We're going to bring this meeting back to reconvene as a regular meeting. Thank you everybody for being here. We're going to do a roll call. All 7 board members are present. We have our student representatives with us today. We have Lexi Thor from Bear Creek, Margaret Machado from Tokay, and Celine Wang from Middle College. If I can request Celine to lead us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Celine. We have nothing to report from the actions on closed sessions. We do have a moment of silence. It is with deep sadness that we share Victor Martinez, second grade teacher at Lockford Elementary School, passed away on December 24th. Victor started as a substitute teacher with Lodi USD in 1997, accepting his first teaching position in 1999. During his 26 years teaching, he taught at Needham, Lawrence, Lockford Elementary Schools. Michael Rogers, principal at Lockford, shared that Mr. Martinez was more than just a teacher. He was a guiding light in the lives of his students. His kindness, patience, and dedication left an indelible mark on all of us, and we will forever remember him with gratitude. Please join us in extending our condolences to his family and the staff at Lockford Elementary. And please join us for a moment of silence. Thank you. We have some recognitions tonight. Art Rap Memorial Essay Competition. We have first place winners.
Yes, Dr. Ball, members of the board, excited. I had a chance to meet 2 amazing students who are going to come up and read. So, Mr. Lambert, would you please lead us through this?
Yes, Mr. Dawson. I can have this, and can I? Not? Again, good evening. It's our pleasure to introduce you to 2 of the amazing students. Good evening, Board President, Dr. Ball, Superintendent Mr. Young, members of the board. It is our pleasure to introduce you to 2 amazing students. First, we would like to introduce you to Larson Elementary School 5th grader, Vince Senegalia, who will read his essay.
Have you ever faced a challenge so big that your heart was left in a million pieces? Martin Luther King Jr. had a lot of challenges, and so has my family. My setback was when my dad was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer called high-grade neuroendocrine carcinoma and died 5 months later. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "We must accept finite disappointment but never lose infinite hope." I have learned a lot of lessons through this tragedy, and I never lost hope in the end, just like Martin Luther King Jr. had once done. On April 12, 2023, my healthy, strong, and young dad was diagnosed with a very rare and aggressive form of cancer. He passed 5 months later. It was very difficult to watch my dad suffer for 5 months and see how the cancer destroyed him. It is still difficult because I have to live every day without him. While my dad battled cancer for 5 months, the one thing that I never gave up on, and he never gave up on, was hope. This made me very sad because my dad was very special to me and very involved in my life. I learned that life is truly short and we never know when it's our time to go. One thing that I learned from my dad was to never give up hope. This challenge changed me to live more like my dad. I choose every day to make good decisions and treat everyone with respect like my dad once did. For 5 months, I watched my dad in horrible pain, but he still walked me to school, watched my baseball games, and loved me. This showed me his hope was so strong that he never gave up, even though he was miserable. During difficult times, life can turn very dark. Having hope gives you the wish to look forward to good things to come in your life. As my dad would say during his battle, if you don't have hope, you have a big fat goose egg. Hope gives individuals something to look forward to. If you continue to focus on the negative and not aim for the better, it is easy to get stuck and not overcome tough times. Martin Luther King Jr. quote states that we have to accept disappointment but not lose hope. In my situation, I have to accept the torture of my dad being gone, but I have to have hope that I will be with him one day. Hope helps me every day because I look forward to seeing and hugging my dad one day. I refuse to believe that day will never come. My life was destroyed when my dad died. During his battle, I watched him fight and hold on to hope even during very hard days. This situation has taught me the meaning of hope, even though my heart is still broken. I feel like my dad said the best. If you don't have hope, you have a big fat goose egg. My wish is for you to learn from Martin Luther King Jr.'s quote and my situation. My heart is still in a million pieces, but I still hold on to hope just like my dad once did.
Thank you, Vince. Good evening, President Ball, members of the board, Superintendent Young. Now it's my pleasure to introduce sixth grader from Elkhorn, Kanan Taha.
I was nervous when I first found out that I was accepted into Elkhorn Elementary School. I had heard that it was a challenging school for GATE students, and there would be lots of work, assignments, and projects. There would also be kids I didn't know in a new environment, making me even more nervous. I was anxious and stressed out. It was a significant change for me, but I got used to it quickly with my teachers' help and family support. I still face many challenges, but I try my best daily. Last year, at the beginning of 5th grade, things started to change for me. Palestinians in my home country who had always lived in poverty with no freedom were being starved, murdered in huge numbers, and tortured. This has happened for at least 70 years. But this time was different because I could read, watch, and see all these things live. The news spoke every day about it, and even though my parents didn't want me to see certain things, I couldn't run from it. I learned more about my Palestinian family through a family history project in 5th grade, around the same time as the beginning of the genocide in Gaza. I was sad to understand everything my family had already been through. I began to realize that no matter how hard I thought, I was at least safe and allowed to go to school every day. Palestinian children lived in the West Bank and Gaza Strip had probably never felt this way. Since a lot of people were unfamiliar with what was happening in Gaza, I would do my best to be the representative of a Palestinian kid wherever I went. Even though we go through many hardships, the best thing about Palestinians is that even though we are going through the worst possible things, we continue to hold on to hope. We want peace for the future, but we want to have it with freedom and dignity. This is like what MLK Jr. said, meant about never losing hope, even when things look hopeless. It's clear to me that the words of MLK Jr. can also be used to describe what the Palestinians continue to go through. We show strength and hope as we fight for our fundamental human rights. We will never give up. The words of MLK Jr. mean that holding on to hope to overcome difficulties is the only way that we can work towards our goal of having our own civil rights and living a better future. I understand why and how these words help those continue in the civil rights movement, even when it seemed like they would never reach their goal. They were able to accomplish what may have seemed impossible. We will never stop having hope to live in peace, justice, and dignity. Thank you.
Dr. Ball, may I have our students to introduce their family that are here representing them tonight?
I have my mom, my teacher, Miss Rivers, and my ELA teacher, Miss Kiefer.
I have my father, my sister Alina, my mother, my teacher, my principal. Yeah.
Thank you, Vince and Ken, for sharing those words with us. That was very well written. Thank you. We're moving on to our Teacher of the Year for 2025-26, Mr. Collins.
Good evening, President Ball, members of the board, and Superintendent Young. It is my pleasure tonight to present to you the following representatives for Teacher of the Year for the 25-26 school year. This past quarter, school sites nominated teachers who have exemplified what teacher excellence looks like. Then the selection committee then takes their time in determining the best of the best based on the following criteria: professional growth, commitment, personal attributes, and professional skills. The selection committee took their time in making their selections, which brings us here tonight. Our first teacher we would like to recognize is in the category of pre-K through 5th grade, and I would like to invite up Sarah Santana and Lindsay Vacarezza.
Good evening, Mr. Young, members of the board. I am proud to introduce Mrs. Vacarezza as this year's Teacher of the Year for TK 5th grade division. Her dedication, innovation, and leadership have profoundly impacted Larson students and the school community. Known for creating a safe, inclusive, and engaging classroom, she inspires meaningful learning through morning meetings, community building activities, and high-interest material. Mrs. Vacarezza's expertise in project-based learning and personalized education fosters student motivation and aligns with best practices. Beyond her classroom, she leads house rallies for over 900 students, facilitates house meetings, and designed a hands-on science camp that brings 5th grade standards to life. As a lifelong learner, she holds national board certification, a mathematics instructional added authorization, and STEM educator credentials. She continuously hones her craft through programs like the Ron Clark Academy and Universal Design for Learning. Additionally, she mentors new teachers, coaches Math Olympiad, and contributes to leadership initiatives across the campus. From transforming her classroom into inspiring learning space to deepening her expertise in history through programs like the Teacher Institute in Colonial Williamsburg, Mrs. Vacarezza's passion for education is boundless. Her talent and commitment to excellence make her a deserving recipient of this award. Please join me in congratulating Mrs. Vacarezza on this incredible achievement.
Good evening, Dr. Ball, the board, Mr. Young. Thank you, Mrs. Santana. I just want to say this is a huge honor. Thank you to my family workers who are here this evening. I have been privileged to be a teacher in Lodi Unified for over 8 years. I feel like I am not deserving of this award on my own, but because of the people that I work with every day. Under Mrs. Church, Mr. Collins, Mrs. Santana, Mr. Gerke, I have been able to grow as a teacher every single year that I am here. And that's my main objective, is to grow as a teacher so that I can better my students. So I appreciate this so much. I thank the selection committee and every single person that I've worked with in Lodi Unified throughout the course of my career here. It is truly an honor, so thank you very much.
Our second teacher we would like to recognize is in the category of 6th through 8th grade, and I would now like to invite up Brad Watson and Isaiah Stowers.
Dr. Ball, members of the board, Superintendent Young. You know, this is really a story about students. Because we're here in the business of educating young people. Because our young people, we want to aspire and to encourage them to live lives that hopefully they will give back to their community and be a beacon of hope for others. And so it's my pleasure to, with that in mind, introduce Mr. Stowers to you, because some of you may not know this, but he was a former student at Delta Sierra Middle School here in Lodi Unified School District. That's right. And so as a former student, you know, you work with teachers, you work with administrators, and you try to build good relationships with them. But for the adults, we always hope and wonder that our young people, when they become adults, we wonder what will they do with their life. So I've had the privilege as the principal at Delta Sierra Middle School to see Mr. Stowers, not only as he has finished school, but go to college, come back to the district, work in the district in our outstanding bridge program, but also to really foster a desire to teach. And so he did that there, but he wanted to formalize his training, so he went back to school, Sac State. He finished there. That's right, Sac State. Give a shout out there. He finished at Sac State. And for graduates, the choice is really, what do? Do you go somewhere else? Do you go somewhere else in the state? Do you leave the state? You go somewhere else, maybe in the country, maybe in another country. He chose to come back to his roots. And so he came back to Stockton. He got a job here, and I was privileged to hire him. Well, I guess I have to say recommended for hire. I guess that's what I did. But we understand how it works. So he was hired. But as a teacher coming into our science department, he filled a very important void that we were trying to fill. Because at that particular time, for me about 13 years ago when I took over as principal, I wanted to see if we could develop science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or STEM, as we understand today, right? And so we had a few ideas in mind. We had a couple of resources in place, but we needed the people. And so Mr. Stowers, as he came on board, teaching in our outstanding STEM program, he helped it to grow along with his other science and mathematics colleagues. So Mr. Stowers not only is our site coordinator for that, but also our department chair for the science department. He also mentors teachers on site, but there's a little secret about him. In addition to working, well, now this is good now, this is good. So in addition to working, obviously, here on campus, he also, through his side gig, fosters running events in the greater San Joaquin County communities. a 5K running event. So you may have heard of an organization called High Five for Teachers. And it's been aired on Morning Sacramento and many other news outlets. And as teams enjoy themselves, families coming to the events that he has sponsored over the last, I believe, 5-6 years perhaps, they have taken proceeds and offered donations back into the community. Got Kids Foundations have been recipient of those donations, as well as others. And so I applaud him for not only working within the confines of the job, but to go beyond that. And it's not uncommon that for many of the volunteers and some of these High Five running events were former students of his, who now either finished high school or in college. Some have come back to work with him, and we even have a few that have become teachers themselves in this district that have worked with Mr. Stowers. So he has a far-reaching effect on the lives of young people, and it's my pleasure to present to you, especially as we think about things that Dr. King has said. I know many of us here were alive when Dr. King was here, and he had spoke about hope, he spoke about equity. I know that I cherish many of those words. And as we think about the fast approaching African American History Month that's coming up, I don't know if we realize as a board, or even as a district, but this type of recognition for Mr. Stowers really is perhaps the first African American male middle school teacher of the year here in the Lodi Unified School District. So that being said, I'm just going to slide over and have you hear from the middle school teacher of the year, Mr. Isaiah Stowers.
I'd like to thank the Academy. I don't know how much I can say without getting too emotional. I don't know if it's seeing all my little kids running around or if it's, seeing my wife in the audience. I'm not going to look back at you. I'm not going to look at you. Some of my friends, my colleagues, people that have gone to do other things. We have TCSJ in the building, Teachers College of San Joaquin. We have my daughter having a great time over there. And a lot of people who have been a huge impact on me. And I think it's difficult to just give kudos to me because I feel like a lot of the shaping of who I am is dictated by the people that surround me. So, getting to the end of my emotional threshold. But I do want to say thank you to all of you that support the running events. We thank you so much for everyone who has come out to Delta Sierra to see the STEM program that we've tried to build from scratch. And it's now become a beautiful thing where, we have one of our students that was in video production who's now the videographer for the San Francisco Giants. So, shout out to Kevin Dixon, remember the name. So thank you to everyone who came out, and thank you for my wife, still not gonna look at you, and all of my family members that came out today, and my mother-in-law for watching the kids while we do what we do. So, appreciate you so much.
Our final teacher of the year is in the category of 9th through 12th grade. To present this award, I would like to invite Dr. Jesus Marone and Beth Osterman.
Good evening, Board President Dr. Ball and Board and Superintendent Young. I'm Dr. Jesus Marron, and I am the principal at Lodi High School. And it is an honor to be here tonight to present the Teacher of the Year award to Ms. Beth Osterman. Beth has been an outstanding leader at Lodi High School, demonstrating dedication, passion, and a strong work ethic. When I first began at Lodi High School, there was a teacher that was always on campus. Always on campus. I was always wondering why she was always there, and finally got to meet her, and I found out that she was a graduate from Lodi High School, and she was deeply involved and dedicated to Lodi High School. She has led key initiatives like the Block Schedule Committee and the ongoing Increasing Opportunities campaign at Lodi High School. She plays a key role in various clubs, teams, including the Star Club, AP team, and the leadership team at Lodi High School. Her commitment to improving our school is evident with her dedication and her leadership. Therefore, it is an honor to be here and to present to her the award of Teacher of the Year for Lodi High School. And
Thank you. It's an honor to receive this award. I feel kind of like a dinosaur as I draw a lot of energy from the younger staff around me. And one thing I would like to kind of, I guess, share in this award is with my colleagues. We always say that teaching can be a very isolating experience, but it's not when you're married to Todd Osterman, who is one of the most inspirational teachers I know, and we shall say as well as I get to work with wonderful supportive administrators, my colleagues who have become friends and almost family, and we support each other every day. And nothing gets done, I have found, without collaboration, without working with other people. And that's one of the things that I love about this job is I can reach out to my staff members and people in my department, and they have always been there and been very supportive of everything that we try to accomplish. Whether it works or not, I know that I have the support of my staff, and that keeps me going. And I've absolutely loved hearing from our young adults in the audience, our younger teachers, because I know that passion will continue to learn and to educate ourselves and to be the best we can be within Lodi Unified. So thank you, I appreciate the award and recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. With all the awards that we just received, I personally felt one thing is common amongst all three humans that we just gave these accolades to, their humble spirit. I felt like all of them share that humble spirit, and that's what makes them good and better teachers from here. Thank you. Thank you for everything. I am going to actually request the board to see if anybody has a comment, because I know or maybe all of you know these teachers personally. Does anybody have anything to comment? Okay, good. Well, thank you. Just going to open the floor for you. All right, we'll move on to our student representatives. Lexi?
Good evening, President Dr. Ball, members of the board, Superintendent Young. Here is what I have for Bear Creek today. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday. I sure did. I think you all did too. So right before winter break, our Link Crew leaders held our La La Land themed winter formal dance. In support, ASB held a Charlie Brown Christmas themed rally to get the students excited for our second dance of the school year. Congratulations to our Winterfest King and Queen seniors, Jaden Boucher and Alyssa Malloy. This weekend, our Beach and Debate team will head to Union City to compete in James Logan High School's Invitational. We wish them luck, and we are so glad that they speak for the Creek. Our winter sports are starting off strong. Our girls varsity soccer team held their first league game win last week with the final score of 5-0 against Stag. Our ASB Vice President, Alana Youth, has been working hard on organizing our annual international dance rally that will be held on March 6th and 7th. With our 2-night rallies, we hope to make it an inclusive community event where people in our area are able to see their cultures being represented at the Creek. We can't wait to send you all informal invitations soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Lexi. Yes.
Are you getting senioritis yet?
Oh, 100%. I think I felt that as soon as senior year started, but I'm ready to finish out strong, finish my president duties.
Good. Good, good. Thank you, Lexi. Margaret?
Hi, President Dr. Ball, members of the board, Superintendent Young. For Tokay High, our stage play class and theater club is starting to work on our spring musical production of The Addams Family, and our Metric Club is doing an indefinite fundraiser of collecting pull tabs from soda cans that will raise money to go to the Ronald McDonald House of Sacramento. This program helps keep families close to their children who are in the hospital. Our student government held a supply drive in partnership with the Women's Shelter before the end of first semester. And the wonderful Mr. Ivy won the Cheermeister title by being the teacher who obtained the most materials from students. The Women's Shelter was very grateful, and Tokay is very proud to have been able to give back during this previous holiday season. Metric Club, in collaboration with many other clubs, are in the process of starting preparations for a multicultural fair, which happens in May. For sports, baseball tryouts are coming soon, track and swimming conditioning have already begun, and badminton tryouts are coming in soon in February. And our basketball team is still going strong. Student government is going to host a winter fest for the very first time this year, and the court is going to consist of only juniors. They are very excited, as all of them are posting right now, and now are getting their time to shine in the spotlight before their seniors. We're going to crown court during halftime of the basketball game of January 31st against DAG, and then on Saturday we're going to do a movie night instead of a dance. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a quick question for you, Morgan. How did you guys choose Women's Shelter to help?
So our FFA was already doing a food drive, and so we figured that during this holiday season, families also need not just food, but also just regular hygiene products and more of just necessities. So we figured we'd really love to give back to, because the Women's Shelter also helps with stuff like that in the families. So we figured that it'd be really good to give families not only the gifts that they need and want, but also their needs and their necessities. So something that they don't have to worry about as well.
That's really good. I think it's a really noble thought. Thank you. Yes.
Hey, also, I had a quick question. Happy New Year. The pull tabs for the Ronald McDonald House, do you collect those all year, or is there just a window that you do that? Those are so easy to collect and throw in a bag.
Yeah, so my friend Taylor is the Metric Club president, and she told me that it's an indefinite fundraiser, so they're collecting throughout the whole year, like until the end of the year. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Celine?
President Dr. Ball, members of the board, Superintendent Young. The end of last semester was lots of fun for middle college, and the best motivation I could have asked for to finish these last few months very strong. Right before finals week, student government hosted a Cinderella's Ball, inspired winter formal. It was a lot of fun for the students as well as excursion before the weight of their finals, and we made sure everyone made it home before the clock struck midnight. We are currently in the process of planning a movie night and a Valentine's themed bake sale for the month of February. In fall semester, student government was able to fundraise $1,000, and we look forward to being able to put on more exciting events for our student body. For some performances, presentations, and events, Tabletop Games Club is in the process of planning their Dragons Night. Science Bowl is preparing to send their teams to regional competition in February. Red Cross recently received a presentation from the American Heart Association about CPR training. For some recognitions, academically, I would like to extend a quick shout out to all of our seniors for making it through last semester and completing all of your college applications, or at least most of your college applications. I hope we can all finish the year strong and enjoy our last semester here. And to conclude, I'd like to welcome back Mrs. Dolgen, known affectionately by her students as Miss D, back to campus after some well-needed time off at the end of last semester. We missed you and we're happy to have you back. Thank you.
Are you really happy to have Miss Dolgen back? I know my son is. Well, thank you, Celine. Do we have any questions for Celine? Well, thank you, all of you. And we have our superintendent's report.
I'm going to pass on Sharon. You can move on with the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any public comments on consent agenda A? The public may address the board on consent agenda A, routine business. Each public speaker shall limit their comments to 3 minutes. Please do start with your first and last name.
Hi, Ansuela Garcia, employee and committee member. Dr. Ball, members of the board, Mr. Young. As I was perusing the agenda on the weekend, I noticed there was information about the architect for the school that's going to be in Lodi, Hanter School, And in an article in the Lodi News Sentinel on March 28th, it said we built anytime soon due to, do I have to start over, Michelle? Anytime soon due to declining enrollment. And so I thought it was interesting that the architect was on the agenda, because if we have declining enrollment, why are we talking to the architect? There's new TK classes coming online. That seems to add enrollment. Maybe we need to redraw lines like schools like Manlio Silva. They're exploding. There's no room at the end. And I'm all for Aspire. I'm not anti-Aspire, but if we're concerned about kids leaving our school, but we're renewing Aspire tonight, I think, then why? Let's pull those kids back to our schools. Or find out why they're choosing Aspire and why they're not choosing to stay with us. So that's what I want to talk about. Thank you. I'll be back.
Thank you.
Lisa Lennon-Wilkins, President of Lodi Education Association. I don't know how I missed this at the last meeting, but there is a board policy that is up for vote, and it's board bylaw 9250, which is remuneration, reimbursement, and other benefits for school board members. And I was surprised to see that school board members, former school board members, can now get the health and healthcare benefits that current school board members get. And in a time where, again, the district is saying that we don't have enough money to adequately pay those of us who are on the front lines working with students, whether we be teachers, paraeducators, bus drivers, cafeteria workers, media staff, library media staff, an adequate living wage. We can give our, this is brand new, we can give our former school board members, as long as they served at least one term, health and welfare benefits. That's very concerning to me. I think we need to take care of our own before we take care of our formers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Dr. Ball, members of the board, Superintendent Young. Ethnic studies, is this the time to talk about ethnic studies?
If it's in non-consent agenda 8.
It is, right?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. So, ethnic studies could be a great class, but the Voices text is full of racism, sexism, accusation against one religion only, Christianity. Voices is indoctrination into theories such as the pedagogy of the oppressed, and Crenshaw's intersectional lens. I have been looking through this for weeks. I'm so troubled. As a way of viewing people as privileged oppressors who hold all the power versus the marginalized oppressed. We all need empathy in this world, but this is not a good way of looking at others. We're all called to love everyone. Horrible accusations are made against groups of privileged oppressors. My heart sank when I viewed this text. I have no idea how the course description can claim it will bring stronger connections to others and contribute to their community. After reading it, I fear it will break down connections with others and cause harm to our community, the opposite of what the course description claims. There are other options than voices. There's plenty of time to explore them. The course code must be in the course catalog for students to register for it in 24-25. They do not need the course syllabus curriculum to register. The board can approve a curriculum in the coming months without impeding any student from course registration. A graduate requirement course must be given more scrutiny. There is negative commentary and voices on all the systems in America. Our police, I could go on and on, our own education system. Course content and course description must be presented honestly to the community. That has not happened. I attended the curriculum committee. I saw a couple of the board members there, the presentation. Nothing was said about teaching from the lens of equity instead of equality, there's a big difference. Equality means for everybody. Equity means for certain groups. Nothing was said about the pedagogy of the oppressed and the intersectional lens. The state allows wide local decision-making and strongly suggests a focus on local ethnic groups. The recommended textbook is not that. State curriculum model and voices contain concepts far outside the study of ethnicities. Course content should focus on informing students about the contributions, impacts, struggles, successes of ethnic groups. Reject this curriculum. Return for revision. If you haven't looked at it, it needs a deeper look. The revision needs to teach about the content one would logically assume would be covered. Ethnicity, a large group of people with a shared culture, language, history, and set of traditions. We're all concerned about students' mental health. Indoctrination into this narrative promotes negative self-focus on either how one is oppressed or how one is guilty. The guilty, privileged oppressors are in a mousetrap in this ideology. They're either silenced or they have to silence themselves. Their only hope is joining the oppressed, either by identifying with one of their oppressions or joining them in their fight to dismantle the privileged. The oppressed are marginalized victims, and both are called to dismantle the privilege of the oppressors. I guess I'm done. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
State your name, please.
My name is Ellen Solly.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jamie Howen. Thank you, Dr. Ball and members of the board and Superintendent Young for allowing us to speak. I would like to quote from Voices, the text that Mrs. Solly was talking about. On page 3 of the introduction, quote, "Through ethnic studies, students learn to identify times that some cultural groups have been and continue to be privileged over others, and to participate in the dismantling of that privilege. This is not a traditional view of ethnic studies as the course," I'm sorry, that was the quote, unquote. "This is not a traditional view of ethnic studies as the course description claims. This is radicalization." Another quote from page 353, quote, "The creation of new systems typically needs the concession of those in power. But people who hold power do not give up their privilege without pressure. It is the resistance and demands of marginalized people that pave the way for change," unquote. And on page 23, the wheel of oppression and privilege tells us who are these cultural groups that are privileged over others. The group that on page 3 of the intro says that students should dismantle. There are Christians, there are male, there are cis men, English, French, married, white. As a Christian, I am called by my Savior to love my neighbor as myself. Voices is a call to dismantle privilege, which is the opposite of Christ's call to love. And what does dismantling Christian privilege look like? Well, it's not hard to imagine. There's Christian persecution happening right now all over the world. Our schools have Christian clubs. Are those going to be dismantled? Are students in classes who are Christians, are they going to be dismantled? What does that look like? Married. If you're married, you need to be dismantled. And actually, the California Healthy Youth Act says that marriage is something to be upheld, something to be upheld to our students as a goal, as something that they should like. If you're white, you should be dismantled. And what does that say? That goes against the Civil Rights Act of the United States of America. So I really want you to look at this curriculum and see, is this really what we want to be teaching our children? Is this the focus? Or is ethnic studies a way that we can learn about different ethnic groups? That's what Merriam Webster Dictionary says is ethnic applies to cultural groups and people of descent, groups that are people of descent. So what does this dismantling look like in our society? I'm sorry, I'm done. Thank you for your time, appreciate it.
I have to admit that I am shocked. I hadn't intended to speak during this because this isn't my issue. I did ask about the ethnic studies thing, but I was only told I could only have it if I came here to the district office. And of course, as some of you know, I have grandchildren living at home, and I was not able to always be here. So I hope that you'll, if this is accurate, you know, I read a lot of the things now that I have all of this free time. I'm not doing Science Olympiad or Science Bowl. I think you should take a second look if the things that these people just mentioned are in the curriculum that it's being proposed. Thank you.
I'm so sorry, but could you just in the microphone say your name for the record? Thank you.
Yeah, like you guys don't know me.
I know.
Okay, Susan Heberly, long-term teacher and retired, kind of.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Everly. Would the board or staff like to pull any items as of right now? Yes, Mr.
Yes, Dr. Ball, members of the board, I just want to clarify that the specific language that one person was talking about in the board policy is the same thing as COBRA would be for someone who leaves an employment. In that policy, it specifies that it is not the district's responsibility to pay for that insurance. That is on the individual per former board member's financial responsibility. What's that?
Current board members.
Yes.
as well, yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you. Thanks for the clarification.
Dr. Ball?
Yes.
Yes, can we please pull A20?
Okay. So we go on to our, since all of this is an action item, is the board pulling any items at all? Yes, Ms. Lindemann.
822.
A22.
And item 819. And item I got the other questions addressed.
Okay, so A19 and A22. And A20 by Ms. Walworth. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, I move that we approve the rest of routine agenda 8.
Second.
Move on to student vote, please.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
And board vote. Okay, the motion passes 7-0.
One more question, Dr. Paul.
Yes, sir.
Edith, are you pulling the item, just pulling it for some comments that you have?
For modification, correction, yes.
Oh, thank you.
We have, let's address the one that Edith has first. A20, is it?
819.
Or do we go by?
Number.
Dr. Baltz, however you want to do it.
I was going to address what Edith has, and then we'll move over to what Ms. Linderman does, yeah. So
Hopefully
just
it'd be
A20 first.
really quick. The title should be Samuel M. Gantner and not Samuel L. Gantner. Something we all learned today.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And student vote?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. We'll move on to board work. Okay, motion passes 6 yes, 1 opposed, none abstained. Now we go on to item A19. Ms. Lindemann?
Questions that I sent just weren't addressed. Just want to look. Sorry. Hold on. Yeah. Sorry.
It's okay.
Technical difficulty here. Alright, hold on. Wait, where did it go? Oh, is it? Oh, okay. Question I had was, what was the reason for pulling this? Do the roofs at Julia Morgan actually need to be re-roofed?
They do, and we have a multi-year plan. We were going to try to accomplish it this year, but due to some other higher priority projects, we're going to move it to next summer. Staff has made appropriate accommodations with the roof to make sure there's no issues between now and then.
No safety issues?
No safety issues.
No concerns of anything happening?
Not between now and then, no.
So if there's catastrophic failure, I mean, obviously it's gonna cost probably more and cause downtime.
If there was a catastrophic failure, yes, but staff does not anticipate that, no.
Does that answer your question?
It does. Doesn't make me more confident, but yes.
Okay. So we're basically changing the roofs in Julia Morgan because it is part of the plans that have come down the pipeline.
Yes, it will be put out to bid next, end of next year for the following summer, so that'd be 2026.
And what projects did you prioritize over this?
Projects that the board prioritized at the last meeting, and I can go into those in further detail if you'd like to meet and discuss at another time.
Yeah.
We can go over the priority list.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Can we have student vote on this?
Aye.
Aye.
And board vote, please. Thank you. Motion passes 7-0. Thanks, Ms. Holbrook, for answering the questions. We move on to item A22. Ms. Lindemann?
I've kind of listed my concerns of bylaw 9250 for compensation.
Can I let Mr. Young answer that for you?
Yep.
Yes, and President Ball, members of the board, the conversation we had was specifically about the stipend amount, and then there's a provision in that board policy that allows a board to increase that by no more than 5% beyond that. That is specifically written in Ed Code, I believe 35-120, that specifies school districts between a certain number of students. I think it's 25,000 and 50. The stipend amount is set aside as $750 per month, and a board does have a right, and it is listed in that policy. And so Board Member Lenderman had voiced some concerns about putting that in the board policy, but it is, the reason we did is because it's directly from the ed code and consistent with the law. So those are concerns, and I don't want to misrepresent if there's anything else that came up from that. I believe also the title, specifically, it's listed as it's a word we don't use often.
Remuneration.
Remuneration, I believe is, yes. Specifically, that talks about, that word is used as not just a compensation, but is used in a broader sense, but then below is the word compensation, specifically instead of remuneration.
Got it. You almost
I'm trying to remember all of the conversations we had at the time, but I believe those are the two pieces. I am not married to having that word on the title. I won't try a third time since I don't have it up. But specifically, it is about that compensation for you as board members, and it is specifically in the ed code.
Okay.
Anything else, Board Member Lenderman?
No,
Can I have a motion?
that addresses it.
Thank you. Can I have a motion,
I move
please?
we approve.
Second.
Student vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Board vote?
No, it's not. It's remuneration. Yes, I know. You know, it's so correct.
Okay, item passes 6 yes, 1 opposed. All right, that addresses our consent agenda A. We move on to consent agenda B. Do we have any public comments on consent agenda B? The public may address the board on consent agenda B, student matters. Each public speaker has to limit their time to 3 minutes. Please state your first and last name. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, I move we approve consent agenda B.
Second.
Students do not vote on this. Can we have a board vote, please? Thank you. Consent agenda B passes 7-0. Okay, we move on to our other action items. The public may address the board on other action items. Each public speaker shall limit their time to 3 minutes, and please state your first and last name, even though we know you very well.
Ansuela Garcia, thank you for having me back. Other action item, I believe it's number 5, with the LUSDA 1.07%, giving them the 1.07%. My question, is that retro to beginning of the year? And is there a Me Too clause that is other people like us on our backs? If we get more than 1.007, does everyone else get it too? I believe it's number 5. Thanks.
I am going to ask Mr. Young for a clarification.
To clarify, non-represented groups don't have an agreement, and because they do not have an agreement, they couldn't write into something. What you see in front of you is what they would be entitled to if the board took action.
Is it retro?
I am going to.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna have to go by. Take your 3 minutes, all you need.
No,
I just don't want to go back and forth.
No, I just was,
Thank you.
so I understand that. I was talking to Ms. Everly, had a question.
Sure.
So my 2 questions are, is it a Me Too? That's a no. And then my other question, is it retro to the beginning of the year, as we were not offered a retro? Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have a clarification on that, Mr. Young?
Dr. Ball, members of the board, that is the board's decision, whether or not that is for the entirety of the year. The 3 groups you see represented there have no negotiation rights, and so it's up to the board whether or not you want to approve it for the entirety of the year or whether or not you want it to go into effect immediately.
Okay. Do we have any other public comments?
Oh, sorry, point of clarification, if you were to pull it up, it does say July 1, 2024. I'm sorry.
Thank you. So just to be clear, this is the time for the public to speak on all of our other action items. Okay. We'll move on to our item OAI 1, approval of primary logo for independent school. Mr. Young?
Yes, before you is the approval of the primary logo for independent school. They went through the same process that all other schools went through in establishing that, so for your approval.
Madam Chairman, I move we approve the logo for Independence High School.
I second.
Okay, we'll need student vote for this.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
And board vote, please. Thank you. That item is approved 7-0, and it passes. We move on to item OAI 2, the resolution 202501, zero emission school bus and infrastructure incentive project. Ms. Holbert.
Dr. Ball, members of the board, so before you is a resolution authorizing the district to participate in a zero-emission school bus and supporting infrastructure grant, get that out. And this evening, we do have your Director 3 of Transportation, Mrs. Farza, in the audience. So you can put a name to the face, and if you have any questions regarding the grant or electric buses, she'd be happy to answer those for you.
I have a question, if I may.
Hi. I'll answer the best I can.
It's a simple one. Doesn't each single bus really cost over $500,000?
It does. They are pretty expensive. So on top of the ZESB grant, ZESB is a stackable grant. So we are working on 2 other grants. So we're hoping for zero costs out of the district. But we're working very diligent on reaching that goal. Not to say that we can, but we're trying to cut the costs as best as we can.
And that'll include the infrastructure in the grants?
Yes, there are many stackable grants for infrastructure, so we're trying to get all that we qualify for.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
What's the life cycle and OEM maintenance on a bus?
Right now, as far as electric goes, it's still they're all under warranty, so none of our mechanics will be working on the electric side of it until other stuff. So I believe the warranty covers up to 2 to 4 years, depending on what buses or what brand of what we go with. But it's supposed to be the same lifeline as a diesel bus, 10 to 15 years.
Thank you.
One more question.
Yes.
And you have like a plan in place.
Speak into your microphone.
Sorry. And you have a plan in place to make sure that you have trained associates for the zero emissions.
Yes, any of we're working with A to Z, so they do have any of our mechanics they provide the training for, so any of that would be covered for the whatever that we need covered for mechanics, they will also get our bus drivers proficient, and that all comes from the manufacturer.
Yes, sir.
Are the batteries lithium?
I believe so. Couldn't tell you exact. They have certain standards for the batteries. That's the most expensive part of the bus. They can run up to $10,000 for a battery.
Looked into the impact on our insurance on that. Because I know now that with lithium, because it's so flammable, it has impacted areas where people that have EV cars and so forth.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything of them of insurance changing any insurance type with the school buses.
Okay.
As far as for it being electric or not. I know there is a lot of different stipends for having electric, so I'm not sure honestly on insurance. I've never heard. I worked in Kalinga, we had electric buses, and our insurance did not go up at all.
Yeah, I just heard that the new apartments and so forth have to have charges for EV cars, and because of that, because they have EV cars, because they have lithium, they have to factor that into their insurance because they're so flammable.
Yeah.
Same thing with the EV bikes. So it's just a friend of mine is into insurance, so I was just curious if we were impacted as well.
Sure.
I'm guessing you have to be working with the city to build up the recharging infrastructure with this.
Correct. Yes, part of the ZESB grant requires us to have stipulations through our PG&E or whoever our resources is for our energy. That all has to be approved before they can even start infrastructure.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So, I have one quick question. I know when we went over this at our CSBA, I think it was last year at our conference, they talked a lot, actually I should say the actual delegates in our community or the mountain areas, they had, when they were talking about how many buses you had to have for a certain number of your electric buses, and they actually, I don't know if it's a waiver I want to call it, but they actually fought and are not doing electric because the grades, as you move up into the mountains and the foothills, I'm curious, because we're basically flat, what happens if a bus runs out of charter or out of juice because, say, a sporting event went longer or we had to take an alternate route? I just can see a bus sitting somewhere, just hypothetical. I'm sure you've run these scenarios nonstop, so.
Good question.
I'm just curious.
Yes, have I experienced that in another department? Absolutely. Yes, they do run out of charge if we're not very effective on our charging and understanding the percentage of where we're at and where we lie and how far they can go. Depending on what generation we should receive, when I talk to A to Z, we should receive Gen 4, which can go to 120 miles. So as long as we're in that, from my experience, they do not use electric buses for like field trips because of the location. They would be more feasible on our routes that are less than 100 miles, which I know we did put in for at least 3 fast chargers, which they can charge in between routes. I know they're saying by 2035 they want everything electric. It is so hard when you cover a big geographical area, and we do. So we're trying to keep as many diesel buses as we can for the time being. But yeah, they've experienced that, and they usually get towed in. We have a tow truck go out and pick them up. But when we're diligent on the need to charge and we get them charged, we can eliminate that from happening. But yeah, I know they're looking into putting infrastructure at different districts so we can start utilizing for field trips, and then have some sort of contract in between districts to say you guys charge here, we charge there, and it allows us to use those for field trips. We're not there yet, but hopefully we will be soon, sometime in the near future.
No, we're really fortunate that we're flat. Because
Yes.
when you hear our counties around us, our school districts, they're just
Believe it or not, the heaters are what take a lot of the charge, and acceleration and deceleration on those vehicles play a huge role. And being on an incline, the acceleration does, it would have impacted us. And so thankfully we're on flat.
Thank you, appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Thank you. Any other board comments?
Yeah, we're just applying actually for the grant.
Grants,
approval.
yes.
Correct.
I move we approve this.
I do want to apologize, Mr. Nava. I skipped on student comments. I'm so sorry. Do you have any comments on this particular item?
I think it's a good idea. I think these kind of vehicles are very advanced at this day and age, and I think it's a good way to show other students or other parents that these kind of vehicles aren't such a bad thing either, and that they can trust their kids with these kind of vehicles.
Thank you. Mr. Nava?
Yes, I move we approve.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
answering
guys.
all those questions. Thank you. We'll go on to student vote.
Aye.
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 Thank you. And board vote, please. Thank you. Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to item OAI 3, Lodi Unified Board of Education consideration for approval of charter school renewal petitions.
Good evening, Board President Dr. Ball, members of the board, Superintendent Young. My name is Peter Lambert. I'm the area director. It's my pleasure to introduce to you the Aspire schools who are up for renewal. And first,
We have 4 Aspire schools that are up for renewal, and Mr. Salina had a great idea. Over the next couple years, their charters were coming up for renewals at various dates, and in an effort to streamline the process, they wanted to bring them all on one evening, so that way they wouldn't be coming back to the board year after year. So we have a few Aspire charter administrators here to speak about their schools. First, we have Mr. Tony Salina, Executive Director of Aspire Public Schools, Central Valley Region.
Thanks, Dr. Seth. Yeah, President Ball, Superintendent Young, distinguished members of the board, we just want to thank you for being before you. We're very grateful to be here. I want to thank the staff, especially Dr. Seha. These petitions have become overwhelming. So these are phone book size petitions for each school, 8 copies of each. We literally delivered them with a truck to be able to drop them off, to be able to deliver them to you all, which is full of a lot of legalese and very difficult to track. So just we appreciate your going through the process with us. We are in concert trying to streamline, and they include finance, academic, student services. Almost every department has to touch these giant binders, so just great appreciation for the staff and all the work that went into that. So thank you so much. Additionally, I just want to say thank you for the partnership. We have been authorized, our first school in Aspire was authorized with Lodi Unified 25 years ago. So we've been partners back in the old Sid's Market off of Highway 99 was where our organization first got started and continues to be strong today. We have the principal here of that school who's continuing to do great work. We also have a history of sharing some teammates. So we had Don Shalvey, who was a distinguished teammate here, Jeff Palmquist, and Lane Weiss were all leaders, actually my predecessors in this role, and so grateful to continue that work as well. And then also, I mean, we've been partners in innovation. So like Valley Robotics, for example, and the innovation that they've done around career pathways has been an inspiration for us. Vice versa, Middle College and us have similarly had a partnership with Delta College. And so I think the spirit of our work is to make each other better. And I think we've adopted practices from you all have adopted practices from us, and together it helps and sharpens all of our swords. So we just appreciate that continued work and look forward to the next 25 years of working with you all in partnership. So like we said, we'd love to turn it over to our great school leaders and be able to give them a chance to talk each about their schools.
All right. Next, we have Ms. Danessa Pardon, Principal at Aspire Vincent Shelby Academy.
Hello, thank you for having us here. I am just very privileged to serve all of the students, the staff, and the families of our community, and I am looking forward to seeing all that we can accomplish in the many years to come. Thank you.
All right, and next we have Ms. Laura Hawley, Principal at Aspire River Oaks Charter School.
Good evening, everyone. I am proud to serve at River Oaks for over 23 years. River Oaks Charter School prepares students for a diverse and changing world as we strive to meet each student's academic, social, and emotional needs, build community, and provide a safe and supportive learning environment for all students, staff, and family members. Thank you.
All right, next we have Ms. Maria Cortez, Principal at Aspire Benjamin Holt Middle School.
Good evening. My name is Maria Cortez. I've been with Aspire Public Schools for now 20 years. Have been with Aspire Ben Holt since 2016 when we opened. Love the work, love our community, and thank you so much for all of your support.
All right, and unfortunately, our last principal, Mr. Wesley Frakes, Principal at Aspire Benjamin Holt College Preparatory Academy, is not able to be here due to a medical issue, but Mr. Salina will speak on his behalf.
Yeah, so Radigal representing our high school, Benjamin Holt High School, he wanted to express, these are his words, that he's proud to continue serving the community and maintain a focus on academic achievement, student success. He's thrilled about the career pathway work that I was mentioning earlier in partnership with University of Pacific, Delta College, and San Joaquin A+. So he also wanted to share, and I wanted to share, that they were a high-performing school in the performance tracks, so that's a presumed approval, so it was Ben Holt Middle, and we predict that River Oaks and Vincent Shelby will be as well. So just grateful for all the time that you've spent on this work and looking forward to the future together. Thank you.
The Lodi Unified School District Administration recommends the renewal of the Aspire Charter Schools from the dates July 1, 2025 until June 30th, 2030.
It's a 5-year renewal every time?
Yes.
Thank you. I am going to pass this on to our students. Do you have comments about any of this?
Yeah, I think these kind of schools, the Aspire schools are a great way for the students to have an accelerated learning experience in a topic that they're interested in, like the robotics academy that they're talking about. I think I had a friend that goes there, and they really like how yeah, they're able to have their required learning curriculum done, but they're also allowed to have that time in school to express their passion for something that you know, other public schools may not offer. So I think they are great opportunities.
Thank you, Lexi. Does the board have any comments?
Madam Chairman, I move we approve the schools, charter schools.
I'll second.
Thank you. And student vote, please.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. And board vote. Thank you, board. Our motion passes 6 yes, 1 no. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate the time you took to come and talk to us. Okay, we'll move on to our next action item, other action item, number 4. It's the AB 1200 documents for Lodi Unified School District employee groups, confidential mental health therapists and Lodi Unified School District Administrator Association. Mrs. Juarez?
Good evening, President Ball, members of the board, Superintendent Young. This is the public disclosure of the collective bargaining agreement as detailed on the following board items, OAI-5. The total projected cost of to the district is approximately $360,000, which represent 1.07% of the salary schedule for unrepresented groups. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have student comments for this? And any board comments? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion, please.
Madam Chairman, I move we approve.
Second.
Okay, let's get a student vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, students, and board vote, please. Thank you, board. The motion passes 7-0. We do move on to our other action item 5, AB 1200 improvement of LSDA confidential mental health therapist to reflect 1.07 salary improvement in alignment with the district agreement with other employee groups for 2024-25. Ms. George?
Yes, President Ball, members of the board, before you is the action item for improvement to the salary schedules of the non-represented groups. Those, again, are the ones that do not have any bargaining authority. Your confidential team, mental health therapists, as well as management for 1.07%.
Thank you. Student comments? Okay, do we have any board comments on this item?
Motion approved.
Thank you. We'll take our student vote, please.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Thank you, students, and board vote. Thank you, board. The motion passes 7-0. That concludes our other action items. We move on to public comments on reports. So the public may address the board on the reports. Each public speaker shall limit their comments to 3 minutes. And if you can please state your first and last name. Thank you.
Lisa Lennon Wilkins, LEA president. So I actually spoke with Ms. Church on some of these policies today, but we still had an outstanding question, and that is the revision to non-district activities, policy 4136, 4236, 4336. So here's my question. If I start distilling gin as a hobby, is that considered, what's the word, anemic? And not, it says a district employee receives compensation for outside activities as long as these activities are not inconsistent, incompatible, in conflict with, or inimical to their district duties. That's my question. And actually, I am interested in this as a hobby, but I want to make sure that I can't get fired for it.
Thank you, Ms. Wilkins. I will ask for a clarification from Ms. Church.
Board policy 4136 is on the agenda with a simple technical revision. This is all existing language that has been there.
So it's historical, there's nothing new in it.
Absolutely. That's correct.
Well, thank you. Do we have student comments on any of our reports here? Thank you. Board comments? Oh, great. These are reports, so we don't have to vote on any of this. Do we have any board advisory committee reports? None at all? All right. Moving on to comments from the public. A 20-minute time period has been set aside for the public to address the board on items not listed on this agenda at all. Each public speaker shall limit their comments to 3 minutes, and the board cannot engage in dialogue with the public comments because of restriction placed by the California Brown Act. Please state your first and last name. I have a fishbowl. I'm just going to shake them up and take one out. Susan Heberly.
Good evening, Susan Heberly. In November, I attended the LCAP meeting as my two daughters had asked me to represent them in talking about the math program. One of them had to work and the other one was having a baby. I have a new granddaughter. So when we talked about last May, I brought in some problems that were given to first graders. But today I'm going to say this. It would not take a lot of effort to add a high-yield confidence-building component to the current math program. And I would hope that you would consider doing so. The second part that I went to the LCAP committee meeting was to talk about time on task. Now, meeting a few decades ago, because I'm pretty old, I read the extensive report that was written on, it was called Prisoners of Time, and it talked about the amount of time that students have in education. Currently, this just came out with Brown University and Stanford University on time and task. And I just want to say that we should be looking at respecting classroom time. One of the things that I think we should consider is getting rid of some of the minimum days, but also looking at reducing class size, because if you are an instructor with class size, what happens is that as you increase the student load and the number of contacts per day, you increase the amount of administrative time and there's less instructional time for each student. So if you look at even a regular high school teacher, if you're lucky enough to only have 30 students per class, that's 150 contacts a day, 750 contacts per week. And to do the administrative work for that is cumbersome. When I first started teaching, the class size ratio was less, but it politically, the district office, not any of the people currently in it, but they maneuvered it so that the class sizes were raised. Also, we had 176 days with short class periods, and we were lucky enough at that time that we were able to extend the time to 180 days, and we had class periods over 50 minutes, which were a huge benefit to science. I would hope that any time that you consider class size and the amount of time that people actually work with students as important, Some of the people here coach. And we all know that, or you're in band, that the more time you spend, the more wins you have, the more practice you do, the more possibilities you get, and you should respect our class time. Thank you. Oh, by the way, California, not so good.
Thank you, Ms. Eberly. And Anzuela Garcia?
Hi, Anzuela Garcia. Happy New Year. I was going to talk about public comment being moved to the end of the meeting because I went back and looked at all the agendas this weekend and they were all the way, it was used to be at the beginning and now it's at the end. And I thought that that makes hard for some people with little kids and things like that to come and participate and for teachers to come. And I was hoping that it was maybe to make the meeting run faster and not limit participation. But as I listened to everybody talk during the meeting, these words came up to me, and as I looked through the agenda, transparency, communication, and equity. And so maybe staying for that whole meeting was really good. Those three things, transparency with all of us, communication with all of us, we really need to work on that. And then equity for everyone, those kids that were up here, those teachers that were here that we honored, like we are those people that are helping make that happen. We want to be equitable partners in the relationship that we have and feel like we're valued. But all those items make for a healthy relationship, for a better workplace for the kids that we serve. Thanks.
Thank you. And Michelle Organ? I'm sorry if I said your last name wrong.
Good evening, President Ball. Happy New Year, Board. Great to see everyone. I'm here tonight to talk about a couple of things. First, second grade at Needham has salmon in the classroom. We are so excited about this cool endeavor and tracking already water temperature and change in our little salmon eggs. So if you're interested in seeing some salmon eggs, on loan to us from the state of California, come by Needham. We do have a 6th grade and a 2nd grade classroom studying them right now. Also, mark your calendars for Read Across America in March. Save some times to come to classrooms to read. My main focus to speaking to you tonight is with the increase of need at our school sites for our homeless and foster students. The previous 2 years, we had a wonderful teacher, Andy Teets, who was our homeless foster care support teacher that came and checked in with our homeless and foster care elementary students. She put on a great presentation at the beginning of the year for our Learn Strong, Teach Strong, T3, I can't remember what this year's name is. That has a big impact on our students and chronic absenteeism, which is part of the California State Dashboard. I was shocked to hear that she was moved to secondary. Not that our secondary students, high school students in particular, I believe, that she is focusing on, need those support services. But as she had built up a relationship for 2 years with homeless and foster students at the elementary sites throughout our district, we have no one this year that is doing that job. They just moved her to secondary without then filling that elementary position. There's no go-between, there's no liaison. If we need something, we're scrambling to find those services for our homeless and foster care. Students that need extra support, especially at elementary. I can tell you, I knew there was someone once a week that could have that face-to-face conversation with my homeless students. I knew that if there was something very pressing or something that she heard that they needed, she would let me know what it was. But she was there to focus with those students on the impact of coming to school, with what their families needed to get them there. And all of that helps increase the dashboard in all areas. Do we need it for secondary? Absolutely. I hope that with our LCAP funding and funding going forward, that you look at providing support staff for elementary, middle, and high school. I think a great resource is talking to Andy as to what she saw elementary needed, and let's please bring back support to those students that are in great need. And they may not affect the absenteeism and going on to college right now, but it's moving in that direction with each year if we give them that support from trauma to build the resilience going forward. Thank you.
Can I request you to once again please say your name?
Michelle Harbine.
Thank you. Thanks.
Dr. Ball, members of the board, for clarification's sake, tomorrow on the transfer posting, there's a second position. That is something the board expressed an interest in earlier this year. Title I did in fact look at the funding, and there will be a second position so that secondary and elementary will have support for homeless foster youth.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Hope that helps. Thank you. That concludes our public comments. We only had 3 right here. Comments from employee group representatives. The representative of each employee group will have 5 minutes to comment on non-agendized items.
President Dr. Ball, members of the board, Mr. Young, and members of the cabinet. First of all, I did want to say that there are several of my colleagues in Southern California who are not only teachers but students as well, who are suffering because of the catastrophic wildfires that continue in that area. And just want to ask that if you can, if there's something the district can do, even if it's a resolution sending our support, if we can support them. I don't know how teachers and students who have lost their homes and all of their clothing, their books, their everything are going to continue to go to school, but we need to encourage them. So I'd like to see if there's something that we can do. I would encourage the district to do that. So there's that. The other thing that happened was there was an article that came out during the break. It was published in the Stockton Record on December 20th. And it talked about Stockton Unified looking at hiring a firm to get teachers from other countries. And I know that Lodi has done this. I actually am still, at Morada, there is still a teacher from the Philippines who is there. I'm not sure how many others. And I'm not encouraging this, but one of the things that really struck me in the article is the number of openings that Stockton Unified said they had. So what Stockton Unified said they had at the date of publishing was 29 K through 8 vacancies, 16 secondary vacancies, and 18 special education teachers. That really struck me because I know right now we have approximately about the same in K-8, probably it's like 35, a little bit more. Secondary, I'm gonna say, it's, from what I gather, it's about 25, but special ed is 23. A smaller district, but we have more openings. And I think we need to take a look at why that is. What is it? I know last year we lost 3 experienced special ed teachers that were very well looked at in this district who went to Lincoln. And I know others went other places. And money is part of it. I mean, I talked to a couple of teachers who went to Lincoln. Yeah, they got a signing bonus, but their salary, their benefits are on par with what we've got. But we need to look at what's going on. What's the culture here? Why are people leaving? They have told me that they don't feel supported by the district. The special ed teachers have told me they've left because they feel that they are going to be at risk because of some of the policies that we have in special ed. that they don't feel are the best, what's the word I'm trying to look for? They're in the best interest of the students and also maybe of the teachers, and that might open them up to some legal liability. Right now we have 3 special ed grievances that went to arbitration. There's actually a PERB charge because the district is refusing to discuss those with us. And I think that's an issue that we need to discuss as to why is it that when there are violations of our contract and violations of possible ed code as well that were outlined in these, the district is not talking with us or even refusing to, per our contractual guidelines, assign arbitrators so that we can go through an arbitration and get a resolution. So I think that's something we need to think about. I would like to see our district be the destination district it was when I was growing up. But I'm going to tell you, I went to Stockton Unified. A lot of my classmates did a flight to Lodi Unified because of the desegregation that was going on in Stockton Unified School District. But Lodi was a destination district back in the 80s, 90s, even maybe to the early 2000s, and I don't think we are anymore. What do we need to do to get back? The teachers here want that. I know you as a board want that. I know everybody who supports students in the classroom wants that. I know our students want that because they would like to be able to apply to colleges to say, we are from Lodi, and everyone goes, oh yeah, we've heard about them. What do we need to do to make it so? Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. So to see anybody else, we'll have our comments from our board members. Do we have any? So that's.
What?
No, I'm looking for this side, that anybody has board comments. Well, thank you. I appreciate all of you. Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to give a shout out to the amazing event that happened at Delta College with the high school honors concert on the 11th, where Middle College, McNair, and Tokay all participated, the band, the orchestra, the choirs. It was very packed. I was not able to go, and I am passing this along from several people who let me know, because that's usually one of my favorites to go to. And it takes a lot for the teachers and the practice of the kids, and it's just a really neat and cool event to have that. And it was really refreshing tonight to hear the essays of the contest winners and looking at the ideal of hope, ideal, and we should all be holding on to that. They were pretty spectacular, so thank you for organizing there and bringing them in. I'd love to always see what our kids are doing, because they are doing pretty spectacular things out there. Maybe we can get some music one night, just saying.
Thank you, Sherry. Do we have any other board comments? Well, I'd just like to thank both the kids, Vince and Kenan, for coming in and having the courage to speak in front of a room way over full. I mean, it takes a lot for kids to do. For adults, yes, your heart shatters into a million pieces when you see a room full of go. And so these kids, they were phenomenal to share their story and to share their essays. And our teachers, Teacher of the Years, like I said, it takes a different kind of person to be a humble person, and then to add to that a teacher. It's amazing. That's what makes them great people, and I appreciate every bit that they do. And it was nice to see them acknowledging their colleagues the whole time, so that was sweet. I do have a question for Mr. Young about Manu Silva. We heard tonight that Manu Silva is bursting at its seams. I know Larson is. We've talked about Gantner wanting to get things situated. But what do we have at Manuel Silva that we can help with and maybe situate students in a better spot?
Yeah, also with Mr. Dawson and look at our numbers and see where they are, projections for next year. I do know we have what I think is referred to as the Westlake, is that the Westlake property as well, and we do have a bond measure that's set up, and we have it's gated off, it's already got sewage, water, electricity ready to run into it. We haven't gone down that road of looking at that additional school yet, but let us first take a look at Manuel Silva's numbers and the impact of that, and if necessary, we bring something to you.
Thank you. Thank you, I really appreciate it. I do personally appreciate a very congenial and gentle meeting that makes it worthwhile serving. Thank you. If there is no further comments, I would like to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.